Hey, this is Dennis Rustaro. Thanks for tuning in today to episode 3 of the Grounded Reason podcast. Today, Joel and I are going to talk about a type of streaming service that allows you to stream live TV over the internet. And not just any channels, but channels that you normally see on cable like ESPN, AMC, Disney Channel, FX. We're going to get into all that today and how you can get those channels without having to subscribe to pay TV. But first, I wanted to tell you our last episode where we talked about TV antennas. I mentioned installing my Mohu Sky on my roof, and I was contacted by Mohu, and they've agreed to sponsor this episode, which is very nice of them. I personally use a Mohu Sky. I have one installed on my roof. It gives us tons of channels. My wife is actually upstairs with the kids watching the Olympics right now using it. But it's a really fantastic antenna. And on their website, you just go to their website and they have a tool there where you can type in your address and it'll let you know what channels are available in your area. All you have to do is go to gomohu.com/grounded and you'll see a selection of antennas there. Any of those antennas, if you type the offer code grounded at checkout, you get 20% off. That's gomohu.com, GOMOHU.com/grounded. So thanks again, Mohu. We really do appreciate the support. And any listeners out there looking to buy an antenna, if you want to support the podcast, just go to gomohu.com/grounded. Joel and I are always looking for questions and comments, so please remember to, you can tweet us at Grounded Reason. You can go to our Facebook page, or you can just leave a comment on one of the episodes at groundedreason.com. Just click on podcasts. Okay, so that's enough of that today. Hey, get off the keyboard. Get off the keyboard. You're going to accidentally start the...
What are we here to talk about?
We're going to talk about Sling again because, as you know, we talked about them last time we got together, and we did a whole episode that we recorded, and then the next day they made a whole bunch of changes to their service.
So you've had the blog for 2 years,
right?
And we started recording the podcast a month or two ago, and in all that time the service has basically been the same, and of course as soon as we record it the service changes and everything.
Right. And yeah, it's different now. It didn't change too much. They just added a whole bunch of channels to one of their services, and they renamed them now. They actually gave them real names,
and they
like
changed
each
the pricing
package.
in some, right?
Yeah. So I mean, today I guess all in all we're going to cover Sling TV, and then we're going to cover, the PlayStation offering.
Yeah. This is more like a corrections and omissions type thing.
Yeah, but see, they're not going to know that because they're never even that other episode. It's not going to see the light of day. It's buried.
There you go.
12 feet. That's 6 feet under.
All right. So they've gone with a color scheme here to differentiate the offerings. It's orange and blue.
Right. And let's just, to level set, because we've talked about antennas and we talked about the various on-demand services and we mentioned Sling and View briefly, but what separates this from your Netflixes and your Hulus is that you can actually stream live TV over the internet. Yep. So it's you can kind of channel surf with this because it gives you all the channels that you have are it's a live stream as opposed to on demand or whenever you want.
Which is really like one of the big things that I think I've heard from people that they miss when they cut the cord is this ability to just kind of thumb around. Not everybody does that.
Some people,
those who do.
Yeah, I would say that if you are used to streaming, you're kind of on demand mode.
Right.
But for people who are comfortable with cable and are looking to get out of it, at least initially, if they're doing it because they want to stick it to the man, then they're usually fine with just on-demand stuff. If they are doing it to save money, like most people, they might miss. They still want a little bit of that cable feel, and Sling and Vu will do this. So let's get into Sling, and what they have now. They have 2 packages, and you were saying that the color schemes.
Yeah. One is orange, and orange is $20, and it's a single stream.
Yeah, basically, you can watch it on any device that you have. The device support, it's it's your Roku, your Apple TV 4th gen, Amazon Fire TV, your standard fare of your popular streaming devices, and of course, Xbox 360. But what the single stream is, I'll let you watch on any of those as long as it's not 2 at the same time.
Right. You can't do any simul broadcast.
Yeah, simultaneous streaming not happening with the orange package. Now, with the orange package, though, it's like a ton of really good channels. Like it's A&E, Freeform, which was ABC Family, your big AMC for the Walking Dead fans, and I know you're watching The Preacher. I know you watch Walking Dead, but you're watching The Preacher right now. TBS, TNT, Lifetime, all those,
staples.
Yeah, the table stakes for cable TV.
Yeah. Well, and you've got Cartoon Network, which helps us, and Disney Channel for all of us who have little kids.
Right.
Can't go away from those.
And Comedy Central, so for your At Midnight, which is a great show.
Yeah.
And then we get Disney Channel for the kids again. Your BBC's H2.
And Bloomberg.
There you go. There's your Bloomberg.
Yeah.
I know how you love that. That's like a drug for you.
It is. It's a sad commentary on my life that's my drug of choice. But
so basically that's really a lot of that is what originally came with your original when Sling started. That was pretty much the lineup. Oh, ESPN, of course. We missed the big ones there. The big draw is ESPN and your Disney Channel. Now, the other one is Blue. Now, if you ask me, Blue packs a lot of value.
Yeah.
Because, first off, it's multi-stream.
Well,
I think it's up to 3 streams at the same time.
It's only $5 extra, so it's $25 per month.
Right. It gets you all those channels we mentioned. It gets you all of those, except it swaps out your ESPN and your Disney, basically all of the Disney-owned content, and adds in a bunch of Fox content. So you get Fox Sports 1, Fox Regional Sports Networks, FX. I know it also it tosses in, like BET is one that it tosses in.
And you're getting Nickelodeon as well, again, for the kids.
Right. Now, some of those channels you can do as an add-on to the orange package, but they all come stock with this blue package. Now, I don't have any official word, but it feels to me as like this is what Sling wanted to do originally, and they got Disney on board, and now they're locked into a contract with Disney for ESPN. And I don't know how they maybe there's something in that contract that won't let them do multi-stream. But I'm hoping, and this is just all speculation on my part because this really doesn't make a lot of sense to me that they would kind of split it up this way. Mm-hmm. My hope is they will eventually give you all of this kind of in one bundle, and that's multi-stream because currently you can get both for $40. You can get both the blue and the orange for $40. It's $5 off.
Right.
But from what I can gather, you still can't multi-stream the Disney stuff. You get some on demand, but again, it's kind of hard to navigate because a lot of that is left up to the channel.
Which channel you pick? Yeah, I as I was reading about it, that was one of the things that I thought was the most confusing about it because you can get a lot, like you said, a whole bunch of different extras. The two that really drew my eye were the kids extras, but they're very geared to which stream you're in. Like there's 2 or 3 that are clearly Disney channels, like all of the various Disney Junior, Disney XD, etc. But then there's the Fox-oriented ones, like I think Baby TV is, and there's a couple others like Boomerang, which I'm not sure about, but I think falls on
Yeah,
the
what's
Fox
weird
side.
with the Fox, what I noticed is a lot of the stuff that you get on the extra add-ons, which are like $5 for a bunch of channels. A lot of what you get with those are on the Disney side, are kind of baked into the Fox. The Fox, aside from Disney and ESPN, seems like a stronger
Yeah,
package.
better offering. Yeah.
And that's why I hope at some point they kind of try to bring this together a little bit
Yeah.
into a more cohesive package.
All right. So another thing we were talking about before we started the podcast was the local NBC. Now, was that added with this?
Yeah, well, with the blue package, you're gonna get local NBC networks and local Fox networks, but it's only in certain areas, and they're trying to basically bring those. They have the affiliates in those areas have contracts to exclusively have that content,
Right.
so they need to negotiate the ability to stream. Basically, give those affiliate networks a bit of a kickback. I'm sure. For some of this stuff, but. For your NBC networks, basically you can get this live NBC streaming in Chicago, Dallas, Fort Worth, Hartford, Connecticut, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, Philadelphia, San Diego, and DC. And that's just live. They're planning on adding on demand for those at some point. For the Fox networks, it's Atlanta, Austin, Charlotte, North Carolina, Chicago, Dallas, Detroit, Gainesville, Florida, Houston, L.A., Minneapolis, New York, Orlando, Philadelphia, Phoenix, San Francisco, Tampa, Florida, and D.C. So those will get you'll be able to stream live Fox networks.
Well, with the NBC one, at least, they're covering 3 of the, top 4 markets right there with Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it looks like they definitely went, the big markets first.
Yeah, they're in the Fox one, they're picking up
I also have
Houston, which is the other.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, too, if there's a bit of a load aspect to this, too. With
Could be.
I mean, they don't want to put too much stress on the servers. They want to bring things in gradually so they're not, overloading the services. But, I mean, the thing with this is it's essentially cable. Like, if you take both and put them together, you're talking $40 for a pretty heavy cable lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And what's crazy, like, I'm just skimming through all the channels offered. And one of the ones that I know my wife and, myself would both probably miss is Food Network, but it's actually on there. So that's been one of the ones that, with cutting, I've been a little bit.
That is so many people. That and HGTV are the two that I find that people are looking for the most for kind of like their veg out channel.
Yeah.
Food
Network just kind of rides in the background all day.
Yeah, and it kind of has like it's not loud, it's not in your face.
Yep.
It's kind of
kids can be around.
It's like visual NPR. Yeah, it's just kind of white noise.
Yeah, yeah, and like every now and again I look over and I'm like, ooh.
But I do love Invisibilia out there. So anybody, sorry NPR.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't have a podcast trashing NPR. I mean, aren't they like
No,
Lord of the podcast.
Carl Castle.
No, you don't want that happening. Yeah. They'll come in and they'll say, Dennis and Joel, I heard you had some not kind words for us today.
Carl Castle roughing us up. I don't need that. You were also saying about the PlayStation booth.
Here's the thing. It's $30. So, a bit on the pricey side, $10 more, 50% more than Sling. But I mean, it gives you more channels, and it consolidates a lot. It's got the ESPN, it's got AMC, USA, MTV, TBS, pretty much any package you would guess, any channel you would guess is in that package.
Yeah, I was looking at the list, and it's everything from the Sci-Fi Network, Spike, Discovery. I mean, it's kind of nuts. They do have different packages, like you were saying, but I wasn't quite clear on the big benefits from hopping to the beyond the core.
I honestly don't see it either, because really, I mean, when you go up, you get your base package, which has pretty much any channel you would want, you go up a little bit, and it adds some niche like channels.
Yeah,
but nothing really. And then and the next package after that, it's they give you like 150 channels. But
one thing that you might really care about if you're this type of person is if you go up, you can get college sports.
Yeah, that is one thing you might want
They
to pay.
do vary by your region, but so like here it'd be like University of Maryland, etc., which other than basketball is actually kind of painful to watch. But if you were in a town where football was big, you might really care about that. But I mean, sans that, I don't see a ton of advantage to.
Yeah, I really didn't get it either. Now, there's also, I mean, be forewarned, I've heard, I mean, on my blog, groundedreason.com, they have some people have been commenting that their IP address would switch, like how some with your ISP,
yeah,
they block you out.
Really?
Yeah, they have that. I don't know why. I guess it's an agreement that they made with some of the content providers, but they basically block you out, and you have to call in and put a ticket in and get your new IP address registered. And I mean, I know this might be a little, in the weeds for some, but your ISP, your internet service provider, occasionally will switch your IP address. So They just do. It's dynamic. And if that happens, some people have been left without service. And I've had one person complain that it took them up to a week to get it back.
Well, anytime they're flushing your router, they're going to give you a new IP address.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, if you ever have any interruption of service and you have to get on with the help desk person for your IPS, you're going to end up, getting your router flushed, which means you're going to run into that problem.
Right. And that's kind of like, I was kind of hesitant to kind of recommend View on this. Now, the situation could have been fixed. I mean, it wasn't as of a month ago, like when I think was the last time that somebody complained about it.
We were talking about it.
Right, so...
The thing that I read about this, and there was a lot of comments out there, it was that there's something kind of glitchy about the DVR. Now, the DVR feature is
that's right. They do have a cloud DVR. Yeah, you can.
That's really cool.
That is, solid.
But there's a couple things. I read a bunch of comments that it was kind of still a little glitchy. And one thing that struck me as kind of at least noteworthy with the DVR is apparently it's if you're recording a show, like any particular show, you're recording that show, period. Like it's what do they call it under normal DVR? I think it's like a season subscription, right? Like you're recording that all of the episodes until you stop it.
Right.
You can't record an individual episode.
Huh.
Which that's what I was reading. And that seems
for that's
probably fine.
Yeah, I mean every once in a while
it's quirky.
I mean, yeah, it is definitely quirky. I would much rather be able to choose than not choose. Whether between service and a series
but
and
individual.
Again,
if they're offering the service, it's the kind of thing they're going to polish over time, presumably. So it's a cool offering.
It is. Now there is a bit of weirdness depending on where you live.
Really?
Yeah, because originally when they put it out, they brought it to New York, I think L.A., Chicago, Philadelphia, Dallas, San Francisco. I want to say Miami, and they would have live access to. They had an original. They had an original package, and I think that one was like $40. Mm-hmm. They don't get this slim. They don't get the tier offering that you can get now. They have to stick with this older model where it's $40 to get in, and there's no like 3-tier package. But I think the new thing that everyone else gets is called. I think they're calling that the Slim Bundle, and that gets you on-demand access to NBC, ABC, and Fox. They're planning on putting CBS in there at some point. So it's like a day after on-demand thing. If you were in those original cities I mentioned, one of the original markets, and you're paying $40, you get ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC live.
That's nice.
So it's like cable over the internet, but you have to live in one of those markets.
Right.
And they said that if you live outside of that market, you can't get that deal. And if you live inside that market, you have to take that deal. So
that is definitely a little quirky because, again, they're forcing your hand in one way or the other. But still,
it's not them. It's the nature of the weirdness of TV. The TV market is one of the craziest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane the way the agreements and the way the whole model is kind of batty.
It's kind of what happens anytime you have. I mean, sorry to get a little wonky with the economics, but it's anytime anyone has a project where they have to invest a lot of infrastructure up front, which in the early days of television, that's exactly what they were doing. They were building towers, and it was extremely expensive. So they built little, monopolies in their regional distribution area.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they got to catch on quick to what's happening because, I mean, ad revenue is just it's leaving the TV marketplace. And that's what they live on. Their bread and butter is ad revenue. I mean, back in the day, you'd have 40, 50 million people tuning into Archie Bunker.
Sure.
And nowadays, I think Walking Dead's probably one of the biggest shows on cable. And they pull, last I looked, 13 million.
Yeah.
And that is a crazy amount of people in this day and age. That's huge. Insane.
The only show I believe that still pulls a really massive audience, like, season finale or series finale of MASH audience is the Super Bowl, right? Like the Super Bowl does.
Well, yeah, live sports is the one thing that
it is what it is.
And cable has, an advantage there. There are tricks of the trade to kind of get your content outside of cable TV, which we'll probably get into in another episode.
Yeah, I think that would be a good one.
Yeah, definitely.
So here's what I was saying, Dennis, is that I just personally, like, I'm the type of guy, I'm going to throw up an antenna, and if it doesn't work on my television, I'm going to either call you.
Okay. Yeah.
Or
cuss and swear a lot.
Yeah, cuss and swear. Say there's a witch in the house, something.
Right.
But I'm gonna give up if I can't figure it out. But when I look at things like Sling or PlayStation Vue, I all of a sudden go, that's pretty appealing.
Yeah,
I can get a decent package.
Well, they make it. It's the live TV. This is one of the benefits of those packages is it weans because last week I talked a lot about you don't channel surf as much and things like that.
Yeah.
But there are some people out there that want to do that.
Yeah.
They want to hang out on the couch and channel surf and stuff like that. And these packages will kind of give them a little bit of that back.
Right.
Because you can sit there and, flip through and find something you want to watch.
50 or so stations. I think with Sling it's like 59 or
right. Now, yeah, it's in there. Now the thing is, cord cutters tend to, they're with anything. There's your elites, and there are people out there that are just like, if if you don't have an antenna, they're reading you the riot act or whatever. Right. It's crazy, and I'm just like, whatever. But
well, it's personal preference with all this stuff. Right?
But they will look at they kind of look at Sling and PlayStation as kind of cable over the internet,
right? Which
kind of it is, but that's okay. Some people
that isn't inherently bad.
Some people want that. Some people they don't. They're leaving cable not because they hate cable. They're leaving it because it's expensive and they want to save money. And Sling and PlayStation Vue will do that. Now, with that in mind, there's a little bit of you have to weigh the channels. The shows you watch, because if you watch 10 shows on cable TV. Then you buy them from Amazon, you're into $250 range per year, roughly. Let's say it's at 10 shows, $25 it's about $250. Now, Sling, 12 months of Sling is $240. So 10 shows, like if you can get those 10 shows on Sling, then it makes sense to get Sling.
It's roundabout the right math.
Yeah, so really 10, that's what I tell people is when they go, do I get this? Or like if you don't care about being able to channel surf or having the live TV. That's usually the gauge I'll use. I'll say, look at 10 shows. If you can find 10 shows not on network, because if you get your antenna up and running, 10 shows not on network that you would buy from Amazon or iTunes as well, and Vudu, which is Walmart's service.
Same idea.
Right. Then, get the Sling package. Right. If it's under that, we were at about 5. So we went with that originally. I have Sling now, because of, I have to write, I write stuff. And it's a good service. I try to hide it from the kids, to be honest, because I kind of like not having the urge to just flop on the couch and flip around.
Right.
So they don't know we have it, but we do. And it's a really good service.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those things that I could certainly see the appeal to some people, myself included, because I think there are a number of shows like the Food Network and things like that.
Right.
All of the shows that are on that, my wife and I both watch, and there's a lot of kids shows that, it would start getting pricey if I added all those up. But
right.
I could see where people might not lean that direction.
Right. Well, that's and you look at it, if you cut the cord, you have, if you have your antenna, your internet's going to run you 50 to 60. You throw 20 on with Sling, you're in that $80 range. Yep. I think that's still fairly reasonable. I mean, that's going to beat most cable bills.
Yeah, by a considerable margin.
By a considerable amount. Now, if you throw in Prime, you're adding another $10. But, really, your base, yes, like I said, I've said this before, the deals are a bunch of magic voodoo where you get the deal for $50 and you get all this stuff, and then you get your first bill and it's like $100 and some because you didn't calculate all those fees that they throw at you. But I would say your average cable bill with internet is running you at least $130, $140.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Italy. So I think we're about wrapping this one up here.
Yeah.
So
I think so.
Stay tuned and we'll get into sports hopefully soon. So today, just to recap, we talked
through the PlayStation Vue.
Right.
And
is it Vue?
I'm saying Vue. I have no idea. Please feel free to correct me.
Yeah, okay.
On the blog.
All right. Yeah, well, yes. Anyone out there, because I know the correctors are out there and they're listening.
Phonetic correction of PlayStation Vue.
There is someone, every time I say if it's Vue and I say Vue, there's right now there is a Twitter person. There's a person on Reddit who's probably written about
losing their mind.
They are going crazy right now.
These idiots keep saying the wrong way.
There is a entire thesis paper right now on some subreddit.
But in our defense, we've said it every conceivable way
in
this episode.
We spray and pray when it comes to this type of thing. We make sure we get it in some way. It's probably pronounced like voix, and we're completely off base.
And then the last thing we talked about, I guess it was in the middle, but we talked about Sling TV and the various things that it offers in regard to its $20 service and the subsequent additional packages. So I think that's really it, Dennis.
All right. Well, I got to get out of here.
Everyone, have a good one.
Take it easy, Joel. Thank you for listening to this week's Grounded Reason podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please review it on iTunes. It helps our rankings in iTunes search and introduces more people to our podcast. We'll keep making them if you keep listening. If you want us to discuss a certain topic, please tweet us at Grounded Reason or leave a comment on the blog at groundedreason.com under the latest podcast post. We will be addressing user comments and questions in a future podcast, so it's a great way for all of us to interact. Join us next week as we discuss how to watch the NFL without cable. See you then.